All right, so up until this point, I think we can all say that it's been a massive positive for Playboi Carti being super rare. Every single move he makes or anything that leaks online just further increases his hype and more anticipation for his album, and therefore sales and more money and more clout. We all get it. However, there is a point where it starts to backfire. So yesterday we already talked about how some of the shows for his Antagonist tour are already getting canceled or postponed, and I already created some sort of hypothesis that I think you guys probably already started to think about as well, in that why would people still continue to buy tickets to hear the same songs they've already heard on a previous tour and in every single other music festival? You gotta bring a new product to the table so that people actually still care. Of course, there's still gonna be a lot of people that wanna jump around in mosh pits on hella drugs. I myself enjoy this as well. But with that being said, the main issue that we're all discussing, and again, it does in fact have very strong pros, is that the delay of this album, whatever it ends up being called, Music or Narcissist, is finally reaching a turning point by which the negatives might actually outweigh the positives. And that I think at this point, with the recent news that we're about to discuss, Playboi Carti and his team are just making excuses. In fact, they've already done this previously, saying that there were leaks early 2023 and he was actually supposed to drop after he came back to Instagram with a fake cover art. Mind you, all of the songs that leaked were super old, so there's literally no way that affected any rollout plan. And then we found out around that same time, which was the Whole Lotta Red 3-year anniversary, I want to say, he was detained for domestic violence with his current or most recent girlfriend that now he has a child with. Again, allegedly, we don't really know for sure anything about this man. And so as I was saying before, there were definitely bigger issues of brewing in his life, not just old songs leaking and then him being able to use it as a scapegoat as to why he's not dropping. Which leads me to the news that we got this morning of Carti reportedly scrapping the lead single of his upcoming album that was titled Wicked or Killers. Now, I'm not completely sure if the full CDQ song has leaked officially yet, although I'm sure there is a private owner of the song currently, because yesterday a couple snippets were surfacing, and so somebody has to have it. And for those unaware, we've actually known about this quote-unquote Wicked song because he mentioned it in a XXL interview back in 2022. I believe this was the done dated era. Maybe he's just confused with everything going on in his life, not just when he's releasing his albums. But this is also when we discovered the new title, or at least placeholder title, for his next project called Music, and that the interviewer said, you just played some new music. One song was Wicked. You mentioned you had a new album. What can you say about that? And Carti replies, I was about to name my album Music because that's where I'm at. You know what I'm saying? Music. That was the most nonsense sentence I've ever heard in my life. The interviewer continues, what you played was a deeper voice. It had a bit of a different sound to what we have heard in the past. How would you describe whatever that new Carti is? Is it even new? And Carti says, I have a lot to say. I'm ready to speak my mind and just let it all go. It's me. Again, completely avoiding the question. But as you may or may not know, some of the more recent snippets and songs that Carti's been performing, he's been using this deeper voice that a lot of fans have even confused with Homicide Gang, who is signed to his label, such as on the Fiend song, that actually that chorus was Travis Scott, and then the Carti low voice, could not really tell if it was him or not because it was much different than his Whole Lotta Red or even Die Lit sound. People have been confusing even with Future. And so we've been discussing that Uzi's kind of going this Young Thug route, whereas Carti's going Future, both to the OGs of Atlanta rap, whereas Uzi and Carti are kind of like the OGs of this new generation of more internet type rap. And because of this song being passed around and even attempted to be sold for $15,000, allegedly Carti Got Wings, who is the producer of the track, and Carti's manager are currently very angry at the person responsible. And while a lot of people might sympathize with Carti and his label because, of course, it is not morally or even legally correct to be leaking someone's intellectual property, especially when that's their livelihood. And we already saw what happened with Lil Uzi Vert's Barter 16 project that was supposed to drop in the last couple of weeks or in the upcoming weeks. But of course, 5 or 6 tracks already leaked, completely killing all of its hype if you ask me, since we already heard it. But in Carti's situation, We already talked about it before with him making up excuses just so he can continue delaying the album and doesn't have to be responsible, or at least gain more time to perfect the sound that he's crafting on the next project. Because if you think about it, for example, Uzi's Barter 16, he's been recording ever since like Pink Tape, which dropped in June or July. So it's only been a couple months since he started recording it, and therefore the leakers really never gave Uzi time to drop the songs, and that's why I think it's unethical. However, if Carti was already talking about Wicked or Killers back in early to mid 2022, which was over a year ago, that was ample time to release that song, and it was probably finished before that interview as well. And simply because it had already been so much time, I really doubt Carti was even planning on releasing that song. Now that it is leaking, he probably got angry and said, hey, maybe I would have dropped that song if like you didn't do that. It's kind of like blackmailing your fans in a way. But honestly, I have a way better idea. Why doesn't he just drop the song now that it might be leaking as a single similar to Atman before Whole Lotta Red that didn't even end up being on the project, and then you can perform it at this new Antagonist tour and more people will buy tickets because it's actually new fresh content. Like, it's a win-win-win for everybody. So of course I'm not completely in favor of always leaking artist songs. I mean, that is their product, their intellectual property. We have no right to steal their music and sell it for our own personal gain. However, if the artist is taking too long to drop it or just is simply not dropping it, then I see no harm. And as we all know, Carti's career has grown substantially from the Whole Lotta Red V1 era, which was all because of leaks. And therefore, a lot of these artists can't get mad when fans are super hyped when one of their favorite songs or snippets is finally releasing, unofficially that is, because it keeps them tuned in with that artist. Whereas if they literally don't have any leaks and are not releasing music, they'll start becoming a super fan of another artist that's actually giving them something. Like, for example, take a look at Frank Ocean's recent career, wherein he hasn't dropped music in like the last 5 years or however long it's been, and the release schedules and overall antics have been pretty similar throughout the years, and that Frank Ocean was kind of teasing music and then literally drops a cock ring, whereas Carti on that fateful September 13th 2021 date ends up just dropping Narcissist merch and didn't even open the website. It was just announcing it. And so due to all the similarities of their careers and Frank Ocean getting a lot of hate recently after performing at Coachella and cutting out short because of a broken leg or something, and whether or not it's actually true, it is perceived that he doesn't really care about his fans or his musical career. And so a lot of his fame and glory have kind of dissipated from within his own fan base. So I think if there's anything to learn from Frank Ocean and Carti, is that there's a sweet spot of delay and anticipation that you can create for your album until it becomes a little much, and then your fans just start getting pissed at you because you're not feeding them. It's a third world country out here for all these Carti fans. They're roasting cockroaches over a fire at this point. So with all that being said, it's me boy Bobbalam signing off. Leaking Carti's left nut pic for 15 racks. It's hairless and it has a birthmark on it just like his face. But let me know in the comments what you think about this situation. Does Carti have a right to be mad about his alleged lead single for his next project leaking, or is his team just lying about that being an official release since it's been so long? Of course, make sure to like and subscribe to the Bob Gang if you with it. Peace out, Cloud people. Nice seeing you.